2017, Building a New Way.
I agree.
Rousing start. Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Mary Lou Casa-Deval Keller, Vice President of the Board of Trustees of the Unitarian Universalists of Sarasota, and a member of our worship and music committees. We especially want to welcome visitors here today, both on campus and live on our live stream. We invite you to find out more about us and Unitarian Universalism by registering in our virtual guest book, which you can find at a link on our homepage of our website at uusrq.org. If you're here in person, there's a sign-up sheet for visitors at the welcome table outside. If you do, we'll send you our weekly newsletter and Zoom links to our virtual events. We invite everyone to join us for refreshments and conversation after the service. Members, please be sure to greet any visitors on your way out of the service today. They will have on paper name tags, and first-time visitors have on those red name tags. You never know who might be your new friend. A huge thank you to everyone who worked in the flea market this past week. Especially our big flea, Rita Meach. She did a wonderful job. It was wonderful to see our campus teeming with bargains and community. We'll have a special thank you next week since many of the workers are exhausted today. There are two ways that you can still help with the flea market. One, over in the Lexau wing, we have paintings by Stan Chappell, and he's selling those, so you can buy a picture by Stan. And the other thing is, by the courtyard, by the back of the kitchen here, there's a whole stack of boxes, and we cannot recycle all those. So take a box home and recycle it. They're empty. The paintings have all been marked down to $15. What a bargain. Thank you. And remember, Christmas is coming up some point. Please read the insert in the order of service for upcoming events. I did get a couple added. There will be a table in the courtyard today to sign up for the Seder on April 12th. You can sign up to help serve and bring food. And Vicki Carey and Susan Solomon will be manning that. And today we have two special events after the service to choose from. The immigration team's Immokalee Workers Training is over in the Lexau wing at 12, and the Rainbow Alliance transgender speaker will be in the Reeb room. Both have important messages and food available. It is my honor to introduce our guest speaker today. I'll introduce him now, he'll be up later. Reverend Dr. Bud Friend Jones, who was one of our ministers from 2019 to 2022. He will begin his duties as intentional transitional minister of Morningside Hills United Church of Christ in the Twin Cities, Minnesota, starting April 1st. And good luck with your new ministry. And now we will light the chalice. As we light the chalice, please join me in affirming our value of love, which is printed in your order of service and displayed, will be on the screen behind me. As Unitarian Universalists, we draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. And now our choir. That was lovely. There's always room in the choir for more singers. Wednesday night. The red road is a metaphor for living a spiritual way of life. Black Elk, an elder of the Oglala Nation, said all people on the red road are interconnected and form a sacred loop. Only you can walk your journey, but there are many of you on the road. Listen now to this anonymous description of the red road collected by Doug Goodfeather from the Standing Rock Lakota Nation and a descendant of Chief Sitting Bull. The long winding road began in the stars, spilled onto the mountains, and was carried into the snow to the streams, the rivers, and the ocean. The red road is a circle of people standing hand in hand, people in this world, people in the spirit world, star people, animal people, stone people, river people, tree people, the sacred hoop. To walk the red road is to know sacrifice and suffering. It is to understand humility. It is the ability to stand naked before the Creator in all things for your wrongdoings, your lack of strength, your discompassionate way, your arrogance. To walk the red road is always to know you can do better, and to know when you do good things, it is through the Creator, and you are grateful. To walk the red road is to know you stand on equal ground with all living things. It is to know that because you were born human, it gives you superiority over nothing. It is to know that every creation carries a spirit. The river knows more than you do. The mountain knows more than you do. The stone people and the trees know more than you. The wind is wiser than you, and animal people carry wisdom. You can learn from them because they have something that you don't. They are void of evil thoughts and wish vengeance on no one. To walk the red road, you are given rights. You have the right to pray, to dance, to think, to protect, to know Mother Earth, to dream, to vision, to teach, to learn, to grieve, and to be happy. You have the right to fix the wrongs. You have the right to truth. You have the right to the spirit world. To walk the red road is to know your ancestors, to call to them for assistance. It is to know that there is good medicine and there is bad medicine. It is to know that evil exists, but it is cowardly and often in disguise. It is to know that there are evil spirits constantly watching for a way to gain strength from your expense. To walk the red road, you have less fear of being wrong because you know that life is a journey, a continuous circle, and a sacred hoop. Mistakes will be made, and mistakes can be corrected if you are humble. But if you cannot be humble, you will never know your mistakes. Walking the red road, you will know that every sorrow leads to better understanding. And while every horror cannot be explained, it can offer growth. To walk the red road is to look for beauty in all things, and to know you will one day cross over to the spirit world. You will not be afraid. I walk the red road.
And now for another story about a road. Today's story is What the Road Said by Cleo Wade and illustrated by Lucy de Moyencourt. Have you ever wanted to go in a different direction? Have you ever wondered if there was just something more, something out there, something just different? Well, I did too. Then one day I was walking my usual way home when, out of nowhere, for no reason at all, almost as if it were magic, a road appeared. I could not believe my eyes. So I walked over to it and I said to the road, "Where do you lead?" And the road said, "Be a leader and find out." "Well, how do I start?" I asked. The road smiled and said, "You have already started." "Well, what happens when I get there?" "We've just begun," said the road. "Don't skip straight to the ending. Enjoy the beginning and the middle too." "Well, which way do I go?" "That is a choice you have to make," said the road. "But what if I go the wrong way?" The road curved a little, almost as if it was giving me a hug, and said, "Don't worry. Sometimes we go the wrong way on our way to the right way." "What if I get scared?" "That's okay. You are brave," said the road. "What does it mean to be brave?" I asked. Well, the road guided me through a very gloomy forest, and even though I was frightened, I trusted the road. And as I took one step and then another step, and after that, the road gently whispered to me, "Being brave is when you are afraid of doing something, but you do it anyway. Do not let what scares you keep you from continuing on your path." "Will I always move forward?" "Not always," said the road. "Well, why not?" "Because sometimes you will stumble backwards and sometimes you will stand still." "But what if I fall?" "Everyone falls at some point," said the road, "but I will always be there when you land." "Well, what if I get lost?" "There may be some days that feel long and dark," said the road, "but I promise that no matter what, I will give you the evening stars and the morning sun to light your way." "What if I grow weary or get hurt?" "I will give you the trees of all shapes and sizes to shelter you when you need to rest and heal," said the road. "Will I get lonely?" "You are never alone," said the road. "What if I change?" "Come with me," said the road. And as I moved forward, the road introduced me to a caterpillar and a family of seeds. We did not stay long. The road began to take me on a journey through the seasons. I watched summer turn to fall, and fall turned to winter, and as spring was upon us, I realized we had gone in one big, beautiful circle. I looked down and I found that I was standing in front of the caterpillar and the seeds once more. Only the caterpillar was no longer a caterpillar, and the seeds had turned to flowers of every color swaying in the sun. The road then raised me up and said, "All things grow and change. That is the magic of being alive. You too will find your wings. You too will bloom. No living thing is meant to stay the same." What if I need help on my journey? Ask your fellow travelers along the way. What if they're mean to me? Lead them to kindness, said the road. How? By being kind. What if they want to fight? Lead them to peace, said the road. How do I lead them to peace? By listening to their stories, telling them yours, and reminding them that we are all on this journey together. And what if the world around us is filled with hate? Lead it with love. How? By sharing the power of your love with it, said the road. What if something unexpected happens? Keep going. What if there are mountains that feel too tall to climb? What if there are rivers that just feel too wide to cross? What if I get heartbroken? What if I feel stuck? What if it's just easier giving up? Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, said the road. What if I can't do it? You can, said the road. And how do you know? Because you have already come this far, said the road. I said to the road, where do you lead? And the road said, be a leader and find out. I now invite any children and youth to join me in the West Wing as we learn about Buddha today. Thank you.
Beloved is Where We Begin by Jan Richardson. If you would enter into the wilderness, do not begin without a blessing. Do not leave without hearing who you are, beloved, named by the one who has traveled this path before you. Do not go without letting it echo in your ears. And if you find it is hard to let it into your heart, do not despair. That is what this journey is for. I cannot promise this blessing will free you from danger, from fear, from hunger, for thirst, from the scorching of the sun or the fall of the night. But I can tell you that on this path there will be help. I can tell you that on this path there will be rest. I can tell you that you will know the strange graces that come to our aid only on a road such as this, that fly to meet us, bearing comfort and strength, that come alongside us for no other cause than to lean themselves toward our ear and with their curious insistence whisper our name. Beloved, beloved, beloved.
Once a month, we have a Share the Plate offering. And this month, our Share the Plate person is Embracing Our Differences. The CEO of Embracing Our Differences, Sarah Wertheimer, is going to tell us a little bit about the organization.
Thank Thank you all. So I know that a lot of you here are relatively familiar with us. You have probably been to the exhibition many times. But in addition to the exhibition, we are a year-round education program, and that's really the most important part of what we do, is really trying to instill these messages of kindness, respect, and inclusion at a young age with our students, year after year. It's probably no surprise to you that the past year or past few years have been extra challenging for us. We have faced significant obstacles at the state level and at the county level, having our state funding cut, and then the Tourist Development Council, the County Commission, cut our funding as well. So that was a very difficult time for us to get through. We are so grateful for the community that has stepped up and shown that these values are not controversial values. These are things that we should all embrace, really trying to focus on human rights and human values. So this is what we are all about. We have our outdoor exhibition on display right now at Bayfront Park through April 13th. So you can go there and really get to enjoy the artwork that are messages from around the world and have a meditative experience with that. And then also we hope that you will join us next Sunday from noon to 3 at Bayfront Park, March 30th. It's our community celebration of kindness. We think that it is needed now more than ever, as we think that these values are needed now more than ever. So thank you all very much. We are truly grateful for all of your support over the years in a volunteer role, a financial role, and everything that you all can do to try to make this world a little bit kinder, a little bit more respectful and compassionate. Thank you very much.
The offering will now be taken. Let the sacred time begin.
dream of the day when beauty will calm the troubled world. Thank you, choir, for those words, for that beautiful meditation. Thank you all for inviting me back to share my last Sunday in Sarasota with you. Last Sunday for a while anyway, and then I will be back, I hope. This church means so much to me. On my journey, I think I learned a lot from you. Beth and I were here through COVID, and this room was empty. And then we began to rebuild piece by piece through an interim period. God bless your search committee. Jay Wallen is one of the finest pastors in this community. He is courageous. He is thoughtful. He's smart. I really have enjoyed him as a colleague. Mary Lou, thank you for helping me become acclimated again to the changing culture of the UUSRQ. Klaus, thank you very much for helping me put together the slide presentation. We hope this will work. You all know this is Ramadan, and this is Lent in my tradition. And so these are serious times of serious introspection and thought. And I have to say, what I'm going to say to you is perhaps a UU version of Ramadan and Lent, because we are living in dark times, and we all are feeling that as we wade through the swamp. The Great Mississippi Flood of 1927 inundated 27,000 square miles of land up to a depth of 30 feet. The river broke levees in 14 places, and it unleashed more than twice the volume of the water that flows over Niagara Falls. Arkansas, Illinois, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Tennessee, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, all of those states were severely affected by the Mississippi flood, the Great Mississippi Flood. The river at one point grew to over 60 miles across. 500,000 homes were destroyed. Kansas Joe McCoy and Memphis Minnie wrote a blues song about this flood. When the levee breaks, and it strikes me as appropriate to begin a sermon on this 23rd day of March in the year of 2025 in the United States of America. Oligarchies, climate change, mass firings, bigotry, mass deportations, virulent anti-DEI campaign, sexuality and gender issues, women's rights and abortion, tariffs, economic news, measles, bird flu, AIDS, the devastation in Gaza, militant white nationalism, Russian-Ukrainian war, the end of historic alliances, the economy, the jobs, inflation, the stock market, the price of eggs. It feels to me like the levee's going to break. Oh my God. And the song goes, I mean, it's a longer song, but I just, in the line, if it keeps on raining, the levee's going to break. If it keeps on raining, the levee's going to break. And the water going to come in, and we'll have no place to stay. In the midst of this present crisis, do you know the way forward? Does any of us know the way forward? Robert Frost wrote a famous poem, and in that the line, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that made all the difference. I'd like to speak with you today about two roads. There are many, of course, but I want to juxtapose two this morning. The yellow brick road, you know that one, and the red road of the Lakota medicine wheel. Now, the yellow brick road was given to us by Frank Baum in his novel The Wizard of Oz in 1900. Judy Garland helped to popularize it when she played Dorothy in 1939. That road leads to, well, it promises, well, you know where it leads to, right? It promises wealth and power and comfort and higher standard of living and technological promise and medical advances for all of us. Gold does, right? Wealth does, right? Wealth management, right? But when we walk it, we also may encounter some of the deadly sins of hubris and greed and envy. Do you know what I mean? Am I making sense? When we walk that road of wealth management, we might also become proud and greedy and envious. I mean, do you see that in the world today? Yeah, okay. I need a little talk back here. And possibly on that road, we will experience the loss of empathy. Elon Musk, who I think walks that road, needs no introduction. He recently said he said the fundamental weakness of Western civilization is empathy. And he said, empathy is a bug in Western civilization. Think about it. Elif Shafak, the well-known Turkish author, said, in badly fractured societies that have lost their appreciation of diversity and their regard for pluralism, opponents will be seen as enemies, and anyone who thinks and speaks differently will be seen as a traitor. Is it familiar? I mean, are we in the same ballpark here? I think where we are is often induced by fear. I don't know if this is the real name of a poet or not, but Bonbon Shazer wrote a little ode to the yellow brick road. And this is the refrain of that song. Fear is a disease, and the only cure is to appease, and it'll bring you down to your knees. Everyone winds the road, but on you the pain is bestowed. That's what happens when you follow the yellow brick road. Have you seen the movie Wicked? The characters, I think they captured it nicely too, certainly at the beginning. It's immensely popular, and Fiyaro says, well, I happen to be genuinely self-absorbed and deeply shallow. And Glinda, lovely Glinda, says, something is terribly wrong because I don't get my way. And in the Emerald City, the wizard says to the Tin Man who asked for a heart, hearts will never be practical. We speak of hard-hearted people, don't we? We speak of hard and calloused-hearted people. Indigenous Americans will speak of far-hearted people. Lovely phrase. I love it. And that contrasts with what they call the moist heart of the living, alive, engaged personality. And in the book of Ezekiel, the Holy One promises to replace hearts of stone with hearts of flesh. Yeah. Hannah Arendt was one of the most influential political philosophers of the 20th century. For her, she wrote a very famous book called The Origins of Totalitarianism. She studied Nazi and Stalinist regimes, and she coined the phrase, the banality of evil. You've heard that. Based on her work, she warned us that the death of empathy is one of the early and most telling signs of a culture's descent into barbarism. Yeah. Captain G.M. Gilbert, he was the prison psychologist assigned to the Nazi prisoners at Nuremberg. He became the confidant to several of the defendants, including Hermann Göring. He wrote later, "In my work with the defendants, I was searching for the nature of evil, and I now think I have come close to defining it. It is a lack of empathy." It's the one characteristic that connects all the defendants, a genuine incapacity to feel with their fellow men, people. Evil, I think, is the absence of empathy. Wow. Is that where we are? Yeah, where we are. Well, this is not to be a depressing sermon. So let's shift gears a little bit. Have any of you heard about the overview effect? This is really astonishing. I mean, you know about it, but you haven't heard of it. Colonel Ron Garon spent 178 days in space, traveled more than 71 million miles in 2000. That's a long, much further than I'm going to go when I drive to Minnesota. You know, 2,842 orbits during his career with NASA. And he's written extensively about the overview effect. This is fundamentally a cognitive shift, a shift in consciousness that many astronauts experience when they see the Earth floating in space. Researchers compare it to state of awe with self-transcendent qualities. Astronaut Michael Collins, who flew the Apollo 11 mission, said he was stunned by how fragile and tiny the Earth looks from space. Apollo 14's Edgar Mitchell said the experience gave him an explosion of awareness. When he looked out the window of the International Space Station, Garon said, "I saw the unbelievable thinness of the planet's atmosphere." And in that moment, I was hit with the sobering realization that that paper-thin layer keeps everything that's living on our planet alive. I saw an iridescent biosphere teeming with life. I didn't see the economy. But since our human-made systems affect everything, including the very life support systems of our planet, we need to move, he said, from thinking economy, society, planet, to thinking planet, society, economy. You get that? Shift in priorities, fundamental. He realized that things that humans, you and me, worry most about aren't a big deal after all. But, he says, we should be a lot more concerned about global warming, about deforestation, about the loss of biodiversity. That's when we're going to continue our evolutionary process, when those become foreground. We're not going to have peace on earth, he said, until we recognize the basic fact of the interrelated structure of reality. Preaching to the choir here. Yes, good. The red road, we've referred to that, is a metaphor for the spiritual way of life. Only you can walk your journey on that road. There are many people on the road. We're not alone on there, but we're alone. We walk our individual paths. Walking the red road implies a deep obligation and commitment to purposely live our lives each day, practicing and embodying in the Oglala tradition the 7 sacred virtues in the Lakota tradition. In a sense, even in space, I would venture that Colonel Guerin and the other astronauts are actually walking on the red road. Not literally, but they're walking a difficult road of challenges and suffering and spiritual advancement. Are those who walk the red road seeking perfection? Hardly. They simply want to walk in the right direction in a good way and with sacred virtues to guide them. The 7 sacred virtues here, which are specific to the Lakota, but every tradition has its own, and I include the sciences among those sacred traditions. Every tradition has its own. For the Lakota, prayer, meditation, honesty, humility, compassion, respect, generosity, and wisdom. In our multicultural world, though, I wonder if the way of empathy might be the equivalent of the red road. At the very least, it might be considered a prerequisite to walk a spiritual path. To empathize is to see with the eyes of another, to listen with the ears of another, to feel with the heart of another. And perhaps if we are true to the Lakota spirit, by another, we don't just mean a friend or a family member or even an enemy. We mean the trees and the rocks and the animals in our natural world. A student, maybe some of you have heard this story, I'm sure. I love this story. A student asked Margaret Mead, anthropologist, what she considered to be the first sign of civilization in a culture. You know this story? Yeah, the student expected to hear about fish hooks, clay pots, grinding stones, that kind of thing. But Mead said something different. She said, the first sign of civilization in the prehistoric record was a broken femur, a thigh bone, that had been healed. Now, in the animal world, she said, if you break a leg, well, you die. You cannot run from danger. You cannot get to water for a drink. You cannot hunt for food. You are meat for prowling beasts. No animal survives a broken leg long enough for the bone to heal. So a broken femur that has healed is evidence that someone took time to stay with the one who fell, bound up the wound, carried that person to safety, and tend to that person through recovery. Helping someone else through difficulty is where civilization starts. We are at our best, she said, when we serve others. Jamil Zaki teaches psychology at Stanford University. This is some of the most encouraging information I have for you. He is the director of Stanford's Interdisciplinary Biosciences Institute. His first book, The War for Kindness, Building Empathy in a Fractured World, was described by NPR as a wide-ranging practical guide for making the world better. His second book, Hope for the Cynics, The Surprising Science of Human Goodness, was praised as a ray of light for dark times. He said that optimism is not a relic of the past. It is one key to building a better future and to let us see it more clearly. Hatred buries empathy, Zaki said, but it does not kill it. Hatred can obscure empathy and kindness, but it does not eliminate the human capacity for connection and compassion altogether. He observed that most people value compassion over selfishness. He observed that donating, you have a stewardship campaign every year, and donating money activates the similar parts of your brain at where eating chocolate does. Helping others through their stress soothes ours. The message of our work is simple, he said. There is good in us, and it does good for us. He and his colleagues at Stanford and other colleagues at Harvard and many other institutions are working on ways to restore individual and social empathy and compassion and kindness. I'm delighted that graduate professors are doing that. And they've come up, in Stanford, they came up with these practices. You're going to like. One is compassion. Be intentional about compassion, even when it doesn't feel easy. Meditation, whatever your tradition or your meditation. Diverse friendships. Seek out people not like you, not with your background, not from with your heritage. And then, I love this, reading fiction. You like that? Reading, he calls it empathy's gateway drug. Yeah, because when you read fiction, you get into other people's minds and how they see the world. Yeah. Moving from us and them to you and I is a powerful way to restore empathy even in dark circumstances. Mark Twain famously said that travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. Many of our people need it, he said, sorely on these accounts. In the Hadith of Islam, it is written that there are 3 ways to get to know a person. One is to be a close neighbor, live next door to them, perhaps. One is to go into business together. And one is to travel together. Wayne Smith was a good friend. Reverend Wayne Smith worked in the Carter administration. He started something called the Friendship Force. Did any of you ever participate in that? Yeah, some of you have. The idea was to take a group of people from one place and fly them across the world to another place where a group of people would wait and host them. And then for that group to come back here. That is still going on. People are going all over the planet, getting to know one another. He calls it people-to-people diplomacy. That's the whole idea, the friendship force. And he, after 9/11, he founded the World Pilgrims. The World Pilgrims, now I think over 500 people in Atlanta have done this, bring together equal numbers of Jews, Christians, and Muslims, and leaders from each faith tradition, and they travel together. And they go to sacred places to all three traditions. And everybody on the bus, everybody shares something from their tradition, from their background, whatever. It's a very enriching experience. It builds empathy, it builds community. And in Atlanta, now, it's not uncommon for a Baptist minister to be giving the khutbah in a mosque during Ramadan, or for a Muslim imam to be preaching in a Jewish synagogue. This is just happening because they think it's important, and it is. The American Psychological Association say there are ways we can develop empathy. Be willing to grow. That's a beginning. Expose yourself to differences. Make eye contact. Soft physical touch. Ask questions. Listen. Oh, what novel information here. Read fiction, they say. Second guess yourself. Oh my goodness. We could all benefit from that. And know yourself. Well, folks, is the levee going to break? Is the levee going to break? Is it going to hold? Is it going to break? There is so much pressure against the levees right now. Who knows? Who knows? But Dr. Zaki says that preserving our future requires expanding empathy, not just across space and time, but across time as well. And he said also, simply understanding that we can build empathy is the first step toward doing it. I love that children's book because it's kind of the same thing. You're on the road. Do it. So I want to just say to you, especially you, you know the way. You know what to do. Thank you.
And now for our closing hymn. Number 1014, Answering the Call of Love.
Truth in our hearts is not a God.
May we go forward in purposeful rhythm, that we may give voice to the melody of our imaginations, the music of our souls, and all the possibilities of a just world, as we might together create it. Go in peace. And now we extinguish the chalice. Would you mind extinguishing the chalice, Celia? Thank you. There's a thing down there. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Morning, Chris.